This is Engineer 775 staring at the bottom of my pool. It's spring cleaning time, and I have patched this liner now for too long. I think the pool's 6-7 years old. I've gotten a lot of use out of it, and I am going to fix it. Well, and we're actually going to put a new liner in it. And nowadays you can't have one return in the bottom, you have to have two, and that's to code. Because of the suction, you could possibly have someone get stuck to the bottom and not be able to get off of that, small child. So I'm going to be putting two returns in the bottom and a new liner, and which will be fun for the family and a prep for me, as I'm gonna actually plumb in this time a three-way valve into my line coming from my return. Probably right there where that cap is. I'm going to plumb in a three-way valve right there, and I'll be able to hook up to either a trash pump or a transfer pump or a PTO sprayer of some sort for firefighting, so I could dump 19,000 gallons on the house if I had to. The other thing I wanted to show you while I was out here, I'm getting the rest of the water out of my pool, and I know this is going to be obvious to some of you, but maybe you've never siphoned anything before. And I want to get there. There's no way, unless I pump the water, to get the remaining water out of this pool. So overnight I'm going to siphon. Right now I'm pulling a siphon, and what you do is you just fill a hose, and sorry about the phone. What you do is you fill a hose completely full and keep the lower end, which is that end down there, up in the air, and you drop this end into the source you want to siphon out of. And then go ahead and make sure that your other end is obviously lower, quite a bit lower. The lower, the more productive the siphon is, and the less chance of losing the siphon. So these are siphoning. Whether it's thermo siphoning or just siphoning, these are good basic prepper skills that everybody needs to learn. So you might want to practice siphoning. Someday you might have to siphon some fuel, and you have never done it. And you'll get a mouthful of gas, so you might want to practice. Excuse me. No, I didn't get a mouthful of gas. Well, it's been running for about 30 minutes, and I'm going to let it run overnight. And siphoning is an awesome thing. I actually have a future video I want to do is siphoning out of a well, and also out of my pond. So if you've never siphoned before, it's a simple, very simple skill that you can do with a garden hose. And if you can't drain a certain vessel or cistern or whatever you're working on, and you want to get all the water out of it, whether it's to just clean it, repair it, or whatever, siphoning is a simple but effective technique. And so we'll let this go overnight, and there'll probably be some leaves that get stuck in it, but I'll get most of the water out of here before I start cutting the liner out to put a new one in. Okay, we'll get this prep back up and running, because this is great for fighting fires, and without having all this water close to the house, it makes me a little, I don't want to say anxious, but it makes me a little concerned. This would be very easy just to bucket the water from the source onto the house, but I also could take the water and pump it up on the house, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this thing set up so I can dump every bit of 19,000 gallons on the house. I'm shooting for probably in 2 hours. Depends on the pump I'm able to get and how I plumb it into the bottom of this. Okay, that's enough. Learn how to siphon, and we'll be back with some other tips. Engineer 775 signing out. Okay, it's the next day, and just wanted to show you that the liner's actually drying up over here. There was 6 to 8 inches of water, which works out to be between 2 and 2,200 gallons of water, so that I don't have to get a trash pump or a transfer pump to pump this out of here now. I can just start taking the liner out. So siphoning is an important skill. You need to know how to do it, and again, you gotta, whether you're using a garden hose or any type of flexible hose or whatever, that you need to start with the hose full with both lines up, and I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. Alright, so you want to make sure your hose, no matter how long it is full of water before you start your siphoning process. And make sure you get all the air out of it. I know I got some air in this line. Okay, so I'll make sure we're absolutely full. You disconnect, doesn't matter really how long the hose is. You want to just keep these ends together. So I drained my swimming pool, and now I want to I didn't show you what I was doing, or this will be obvious to some of you, but maybe not to others. The other cool thing about a garden hose, you don't need a if you're building a building and you want to, if you're putting up what is called batter boards and trying to level it up, there's nothing like water to seek a level. So I can actually take a garden hose, take a 100-foot hose, and find the water level. I can pour water in here, and so then I can actually level up a pad. This is usually how I level up a concrete pad before I pour it. I don't have a transit, and I didn't want to spend the money on a transit, so I just use a garden hose. They make some fancy cool things you can screw on a garden hose. They're like sight levels, so you can see the bubble in there, but you don't have to have that. Just take a hose and you can level anything. Just built a generator shed, and it was perfectly level. The pad was. I did it with water, so I use water for a lot of things, not just drinking, but leveling, siphoning, so many cool things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, just to show you, I'm going to take the cistern, which is full of water, and I'm going to siphon. So again, you start with your hose full, no air in it. Take one end of the hose and place it down in. Place it down in the thing that you're siphoning, and then you just want to drop this end below the level, kind of at the same time. So just throw that down there. This one's in the bottom. And as long as that stays there. Just do this. This is going to want this thing to slip out of there. So that's holding it. So then the lower you go with the siphon, then you're good. So everything's below my inlet. So siphoning is something that's very important. So this will run to that tank that's completely empty, and I'll get most of the water out of there. So, ooh, there's some nasty stuff. This is another thing, if you want to clean the bottom of that cistern out that hasn't been cleaned out for years. Obviously, if you got a drain on the bottom, but your drain might be above the spigot. So anyway, this is just a simple technique called siphoning. It's been around forever, but you know, you'll be very frustrated if you just, I mean, you could actually suck the water out of there, but fill your hose up first. You could put the entire hose in the cistern and get all the bubbles out, then siphon it, or your swimming pool. Same principle if I got to get fuel out of a tank, diesel, gas. Just be careful you don't get a mouthful of that, because it's not too tasty. So Engineer 775, siphoning some water out of my pool because I want to get my pool back up to speed for firefighting and back feeding. I'm going to tie it into the house this time, and I'll show you that on another video. Okay, Engineer 775 signing out.